fans, really snotty, so it's probably a chance to talk about evolution and bacteria and how bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics and what we should do about it, because it's all mutations. This is for AQA Biology Paper 2. It also slightly banks over onto Paper 1 when we're talking about infection and things like that. Paper 2 for Trilogy, Triple, Foundation or higher. So you need to learn. So let's get cracking. I'm not talking about the theory of evolution today, but Darwin came up with this theory and he spoke about the idea of natural selection. So natural selection is where an organism has an advantage and it enables that organism to breed and to pass its traits on to a new generation. And this normally comes about, well, not normally, but new species and evolutions come about usually via mutations. Now, very rarely mutations we actually see in a phenotype, but occasionally we get a mutation that is a game changer. Now, a mutation is just a change in the base pairs, change in the base coding sequence. And sometimes it can bring around a change very slowly over time to evolve a species, but bacteria, they're clever bunnies. They evolve fast. And what's worse is, so let's look at how they evolve to become resistant to antibiotics. This is a bad thing. What I want you to imagine is I have got this colony of bacteria. And this is making somebody ill. Okay? Now, some of these bacteria will have a natural mutation where they can resist antibiotics. So let's say I give this antibiotic A. Ta-da! Antibiotic A. Now, antibiotic A very likely will wipe out about 95% dead. Okay? These ones that are mutated will be resistant. So then, if we give this lot of bacteria a chance to grow, antibiotic A is not going to work anymore. So we might try antibiotic B. But as we know, some of these bacteria mutate so quickly that whilst we might get rid of 95%, we are going to have this 5% here, which are going to be resistant to antibiotic A and B, and so on and so forth. Which means that we have to be really responsible about how we are using antibiotics and how we prescribe them. So here are Mrs. Corbett's top tips for reducing the evolution of bacteria, which is really fast. It looks like I'm sort of sponsored by Smartboard. I'm not. I don't have that kind of money or power behind me. Okay, so here are my top tips to slowing down the evolution of bacteria, which has gotten pretty bad. We've got something called MRSA in hospitals now, which is multiple resistant Staphylococcus aureus. So it's a type of bacteria that is resistant to loads of antibiotics, so we have to save the real big guns for those. And to be honest, bacteria evolve so quickly that by the time we get approval in all of the testing for our antibiotics, a lot of them are ineffective now, because the testing obviously has to be really, really in depth. So here are my top tips for keeping antibiotics effective. Number one, stop overprescribing them, doctors. So not taking them for minimal infections. That's really key, because then they'll be more useful. Number two, don't prescribe them for viruses. They do not work, but the bacteria in the body might mutate to be non-resistant to those in future anyway. So don't prescribe for viral infections. They will have no effect. Doctors and nurses need to make sure that they are using basic sanitary care, okay, like Semmelweis suggested, washing their hands, using antibiotic hand washes and things like that. And the third thing is not overprescribe. No, I've already said that. That was number one. The fourth thing is to ensure that everybody completes their course of antibiotics, because if you don't complete your course of antibiotics, you are giving the bacteria that you're trying to kill the chance to multiply, including the resistant ones. Okay, and they might be better naturally selected, better mutated, and therefore more able to survive. That's usually going to be a 6-mark question. Learn it. The reasons why bacteria evolve, because they mutate, and they are then becoming resistant to round after round of antibiotics. Don't overprescribe. Don't give for viruses. Basic hygiene. Finish the course you are given. That's it. Boom. Someone has also got MRSA, you should probably isolate those people. That's also like a fifth thing that you can do. Okay, now bye.